I'm very lucky to have you.
Yeah, well.
I love you.
I love you.
Okay, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey guys, Brandon here, and I want to talk about Florence Pugh's Oscar-nominated performance in Ari Aster's folk horror film, Midsommar. Oh wait, she didn't get nominated for an Oscar because God is either ignorant to the injustices taking place in his own kingdom, or he simply doesn't care. I mean, look, Florence is doing fine. She's got a nomination for Little Women, she did some fun action stuff in the MCU, and she did some wrestling stuff and Fighting With My Family, she did some weird stuff and Don't Worry Darling, she oppened a few Heimers, and she's part of the Dune franchise as yet another stunningly beautiful addition to the cast, alongside Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, and of course, Stellan Skarsgård. But her performance in Midsommar is on another level. Plus, it's an excuse to touch on one of my favorite movies without this being another video essay on 5 things you missed when you watched Midsommar. Or, why you were wrong about that ending, you moron. I watched Midsommar while farting into my pillow and then smelled it all at once. I just want to talk about Florence and her complete and utter dedication in portraying a character unraveling into complete madness, but in a good way. Before we continue, I just want to thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. All of that helps this channel grow and make more videos. Also, spoilers ahead for those who haven't seen the film. Flashback to 2016, Florence had already been making a name for herself in various period dramas, but it was her performance as Catherine, a young bride who struggles to break free from a loveless marriage in the drama Lady Macbeth, that put her on Ari Aster's radar. In an interview for AP News, Aster said, "In Lady Macbeth, she plays this impenetrable, poised, calculating, sociopathic woman, but I could see her doing this, which is almost the polar opposite." Ari is of course referring to his film Midsommar, which he's described as a breakup movie but woven into the tapestry of a folk horror film. Florence played Dani, a young woman with a lot on her plate. She's taking Ativan for anxiety and she's seeing a therapist, her sister's bipolar and sending her all kinds of unsettling messages, and she's in a codependent relationship with an emotionally unavailable boyfriend, Christian.
You do though, babes. You go straight to crisis mode.
Well, she's my sister, and even you said that this email seemed different.
Yeah, right.
Everything he does is just half-hearted, half-assed. He's ready to jump ship. Until an unimaginable tragedy. Dani's sister kills their parents and herself via carbon monoxide poisoning. Cut to 6 months later, Christian has stayed with Dani out of obligation as she accompanies him and his 3 friends as an unwanted fifth wheel to a secluded Swedish community.
So, Sweden.
Yeah.
You're coming, right?
I mean, I guess so. That's not completely ruining your guys' plans.
Oh, no,
Not at all.
no.
As far as the relationship scenes, Florence and Jack Rayner, who played Christian, prepared extensively by undergoing couples therapy in character, with Ari Aster acting as their therapist. That's a brilliant idea, and it forces you to think and make decisions on the fly as your character. It helps establish a deep history and creates this sense of an iceberg of sorts. You know, we as an audience may only see the tip, but there's a whole lot that either we don't see or is simply implied. As a result, every single scene between them is just infected with subtext. Everything they're not saying.
How long have you two been together?
Oh, geez.
Just over 3.5 years?
4 years.
No. Really?
Yeah. 4 years and 2 weeks.
In a 2019 interview for GQ, Florence said, "They don't say anything, and when they do, it's so pathetic and small, but they sure as hell let one another know that they're unhappy in their eyes." And an interesting fact here, Aster wrote the script after dealing with a hard breakup, so essentially Florence's character is a proxy for him. But this isn't just a relationship drama. There's some scary, spooky stuff. Before Dani even goes on this trip to Sweden, she's experienced horrific trauma, which called for plenty of scenes of her just crying. In a 2019 interview for Vanity Fair, she said, "The majority of my time was literally wearing headphones and imagining my sisters dying. It was exhausting. I didn't know if that was going to work, but that seemed to get me pretty distraught pretty quickly. I don't know what that's done to my mental health." Ironically, most of her emotional scenes involve her doing her best to just suppress them completely. Dani doesn't want to be a bother. She doesn't want to reveal exactly how distraught she still is. And when Pelle, a member of the Swedish community, is the first to show her real compassion, she doesn't even know what to do with it. She just walks out of the room. She's been gaslit for so long to just keep that shit to yourself.
It sucks. On the subject of couples, actually, is there ever an issue here with incest?
And in yet another brilliant little twist of irony, she has shown nothing but compassion from arguably the antagonists of the film, the Swedish community, which of course is revealed to be as a dangerous cult who does horrible things to all of her friends. But to Dani, they're just the emotional support she needs. It's established early on that they all share each other's emotions in this little tight-knit community. All the highs and the lows, they all just, it's all experienced as one.
No offense, but it sounds like some commie gobbledygook.
So, this is already a tricky emotional minefield. From an acting standpoint, Florence is already having to carefully navigate all these subtle relationship drama scenes and put herself through some admitted self-abuse to reach those high emotional states.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Stop it.
But then, just from a technical perspective, things were complicated. In that same GQ interview, she said, "It was emotionally wrecking my mind and body and soul. On top of that, we were filming in really hot conditions. We're in a field for 3 months. We were working with 3 different languages, and everything had to get translated in 3 different sessions, and no one spoke all 3 languages. So just simple things like that, communication, location, it's tricky with one of the hardest stories to understand how to perform." Just a side note here, the more I watch this, I can't tell if I like this cult or not. I mean, I've liked many cults. I've watched a lot of documentaries on, different cults, and they all sound great in the beginning. They're very attractive to me, and then, later on you just end up in the guru's tent sucking his or something. But man, this cult is, it's a little different. I mean, they respect their elders enough to not put them in an old codger's home. They instead assist them to end their journey. I mean, there are more humane ways of doing it, but their message of shared family and a strong support system that embraces pain together is nice. But the drugging and the murdering people that's bad. But these kids were kind of ignorant jerks who didn't respect their customs.
Dude, is she gonna kill me?
And the cult really seems to care about all these people. Or are they just making it seem that way to grow their numbers? God, it's so sunny and pretty there.
Listen, you can't speak. You can't move. All right?
As the story progresses, Dani's feeling more comfortable and accepted by the community and is eventually crowned as the May Queen. As she's growing apart from Christian, he's being primed and kind of drugged for this ritualistic deflowering? When Dani discovers what he's done, it's just the final straw that breaks the camel's back for her. She just retreats to a cabin in unfathomable sadness and pain. Then, in legitimately one of the most beautiful and powerful scenes I've seen in a horror film, or just a film in general, it's amazing. Her new Swedish sisters surround her and share her pain, screaming and crying in unison. And the whole scene just ebbs and flows. They all take this journey from sadness to excruciating emotional agony. And then near the end, it just takes this turn. It's almost like anger. It could be up for interpretation. I don't know. Florence had a lot to say about this scene. She was initially terrified to do it, but in a post on Instagram, she shared a photo of her and the other actresses embracing and wrote lovingly about their support. "I knew I would never be so open and so raw and so exhausted like I was that day ever again. We got up from our knees after 2 hours of screaming and wailing and grieving. We held each other, we looked at each other, we nervously giggled and cried some more. Then we went home. Scenes that make you hurt or cringe or turn away from the screen when watching are scenes designed to make you feel, for 10 seconds at least, the most human. But for us, it was hours. beautiful, hard, proud hours. Then, in the film's final moments, Dani chooses Christian to be sacrificed. It's apparently a controversial scene. At least it seems that way if you live in this little bubble of the Reddit and YouTube comments and people go back and forth on whether or not he deserved it or whatever. They're like, he didn't deserve that. That's not, well, okay, this is pretend, you guys. Of course, in real life, we can all say that that's bad. But in this movie, I mean, I don't really care. To me, it was kind of hilarious. Because of how much of a limp dick he's been the entire movie.
What's going on?
Just seeing him in that Wicker Man wheelchair, just like, and then his face in the bear suit. I've seen this 5 times now. And in the words of Beetlejuice,
and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it.
But what's more interesting to me is how Florence played it. Because it could seem like vengeful, you know? Like, oh, I picked my boyfriend because he mistreated me and now he's gonna die. And that's what people are all up in arms about. But the way she played it was completely different. In a 2023 interview on the podcast Off Menu, she had this to say.
I never thought she looked at him to kill him. I thought it was more of like she was in a different place. She wasn't her anymore. That whole zoom in is like, for me, it was her processing deep from wherever it is that she's got lost to, that is someone that has hurt her, and then it snaps, and then he's been chosen.
Then, as Christian burns to death in a bear suit in the sacrificial temple, the final frame of the film is Dani smiling. When I first saw this, I thought, oh, well, that's like a vengeful smile. This is kind of an oddly happy ending. But Florence had a different approach and interpretation. In an interview for Den of Geek, she said, I really wanted her to be as childish and as toddler-like as possible. So when she's looking at the temple burning, I wanted her to almost be as excited as looking at bonfire night and looking at fireworks going up in the sky and really pulling back any adult way of seeing the world. But even more interesting is how Florence was affected from playing this character. After she wrapped, they still had 3 days left to shoot. She immediately got on a plane to go shoot Little Women. As she looked down from the plane at the exact field where she had been shooting for 3 months, she felt something she didn't expect. Guilt.
It's like I'd obviously created such a sad person.
Yeah.
And then felt guilty that I'd created that person and then left her.
Sometime later, Florence got a Midsommar tattoo of, it's the maypole. It's the thing that they danced around. A Midsommar tattoo. I'm not sure if she realized the parallels here. The fact that she deliberately went through something painful to create something beautiful that will permanently be a part of her. I mean, I can't think of a more fitting way to commemorate and celebrate the performance of a lifetime.